Hey guys, another video of the Papa Keegan Show. Today I'm going to be reviewing the third season of Slasher. This will contain spoilers, so beware. I haven't seen the other two seasons, which is okay because this show is it's one where each season is its own contained story, which won't affect the other seasons and the seasons, you know, new characters and whatnot, which is cool. So this show in this season, it takes place in a apartment complex. It takes place outside of it, but the characters all from the same apartment complex. The main character, I guess you could say, is a girl named Sadia. She is, I believe it was from Afghanistan. She wears a hijab. She's, Middle Eastern, and her two parents, they go out to um, I believe it's to go to her brother's wedding. So they took a plane and left. Before they left, they gave her a phone. This phone does come back into play when other characters are being introduced. Sadia has a friend named Jen, and Jen has a brother named Connor. Um, Jen and Connor are both black. Their parents, or I guess parent at this point, are a lesbian couple. Their biological mother killed herself. It was a few days after the first murder. I'm gonna get off the characters first, and then I'm gonna go through the murders and that stuff. Um, the biological mother killed herself by dousing herself in gasoline and then lighting herself on fire because she was catching hate for posting a photo and making fun of someone who died. Um, Next up is Dan. He's a 50, 60-year-old man, white guy with a beard, and he's a white supremacist. Um, and as I was watching this, like earlier on, I was kind of getting, I guess, upset at the fact that each white character in the show was seen to be like douchey and rude, especially if they were a white guy. So at first I thought this was going to be some political correct show, but it actually surprised me and had a good um, thing coming on later on. Um, there is a couple. One was named Joe. The other was Violet. Violet, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, or Violet or whatever. The husband, Joe, was actually having an affair on his wife Violet with another character, gay man named Angel. He's Hispanic, and he was probably one of the I was gonna say probably one of the better characters in my opinion. Um, for me personally, how I'm gonna rank the characters in my personal opinion, like my top three. Probably Dan was probably number one with how his character turns out at the end. Um, then Angel, and then probably Sadia, to be honest. Um, she was pretty well developed. Um, and those are the big characters, in my opinion. There is also a detective um, who is exploring the murders that happened a year before, which was a unsolved case. Um, so now we're starting with the murders. 1 year prior, on Halloween, I believe it was Halloween, um, there was the murder of a resident at the apartment complex named Kit. Um, he was a bisexual man who was previously in a relationship with Angel before Angel and Joe got together. Um, Kit got high and drunk at a party and was walking home, where he met and found a druid. The druid was actually stalking Kit and had been planning to kill Kit for a while. Excuse me. The murderer, later to be found out, is the ex-boyfriend of the woman that Kit actually was making out with. Also, just for those of you who know, or don't know, I should say, the show does contain some nudity, so beware of that. If you're mature enough, you can handle it. It's nothing like, intense. So just be aware of that. So Kit and this girl were both murdered by someone named Wyatt, who is introduced in like the final 3 episodes. I want to say, I think it was episode 6 or 7, something like that. So he wasn't really fleshed out. We never really met him prior to that. If I checked back, I could probably see some scenes where he was like lurking in the background. But then that brings up the question, if those murders were done by one person, who killed the rest? Turns out that Connor and Jen, Sadia's friends, ended up being the new the copycat murderers. They murdered the people because of them attacking, I guess, their mom verbally and over the cybernet to kill herself and whatnot, because she made fun of Kit's death, and it was she was being very tasteless in it, and she later killed herself, set herself on fire in full view of everyone. And the reason why they're killing like the detectives and whatnot is because the detectives did nothing. So they were going through the apartment complex one by one to eliminate everyone. The first murder received from the copycats is the murder of, God, I forgot his name. He wasn't very prevalent in the series. I think he died in the first or second episode. He was a bald guy, not very all that important, other than we can assume it was Connor, just based on the body, as well as him being stronger than his little sister. Connor took an axe, cut off the guy's head, and stuck it on the hood ornament of his car. And before I get into the other murders, something that I didn't really like very much was they were flopping back and forth. And it was very easy to see that there was going to be a copycat murderer from earlier on. If you looked at how the bodies were being displayed differently, we weren't really sure how Kit, what his body was going to end up, where it was going to be, what was going to happen with it. But some of the bodies were being shown off and made fun of, such as the bald guy. Others, like Dan's daughter Cassidy, were hidden away, and it made it seem like there was going to be 2 copycat killers going on at the same exact time, and the cops were going to catch one, and then the other one was going to be getting away. But it turned out to be, Connor doing them all. Maybe Jen as well. I think she only killed Charlie, who dies later on. But they hide some of the bodies, flaunt the other ones around. The mixed bag of, we're going to kill some and show them off and hide some. It didn't make sense. If you look at any type of murderer, if they're showing off the body in their first killing, they're going to keep showing it off. It made no sense for them to hide it, or if they were going to hide Cassidy's, for example, then hide the bald guys. it didn't make much sense. It seemed like they were doing that to, I don't know, make people think that there was gonna be a copycat killer. But even then, it didn't pan out how it, should have logically. So that's my biggest gripe with it. After the bald guy, going back to the deaths now. After the bald guy, it was Cassidy, who was in the bathroom after attacking and assaulting Sadia. She stole her phone and was in the bathroom on Tinder, trying to get a date. The druid, who I assume to be Jen, possibly Connor, but I'd have to rewatch the scene. Seeing how it took place in the girls' bathroom, it would make more sense for it to be Jen. If she walked in there, no one would be surprised, but if a guy walked in there, it's going to cause some alarm. They filled the not the bathtub, the toilet up with a type of acid and dunked her face in. And you actually see her face, or what's left of it, quite a lot, which was surprising. It was pretty grotesque, but I don't know, I personally enjoy stuff like that if they, have the balls to show stuff. So, yeah, they burn her face, and then they hide her in the ceiling. And her phone, Sadia's phone, was put up there as well. The issue I find with that is later on, Jen has a phone, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe there's any scenes or anything that shows that she went back to grab the phone after leaving it up in the roof with Sadia. So, or not Sadia, Cassidy. So that's another issue I have with that. The next death was a man named Xander. He owned a coffee store which was frequented by people, and he died by getting hit in the head in the back of his store repeatedly, and then a coffee tube or whatever. I don't know. He was very latte, stupid stuff. And it was they shoved the plastic glass thing down his throat, and that's how he died. God, there were so many people who died. I want to say the next one was Amy, who is a Asian lady who is married to Xander, or dating Xander. She cut her wrists the night before after watching how the druid videotaped it, and after watching how the death took place and watching that her boyfriend, husband, whatever, died, she, I believe she attempted to kill herself in the bathtub. I don't know if she, didn't cut deep enough or talked herself out of it, but she woke up in her bed, the bathtub woke up in her bed, and was then attacked by the druid, who took a drill to her forehead, drilled through and killed her like that. Next one up would be the teacher, who was not the one who was consoling Sadia. That was some random teacher. But the next teacher up, or the next person up who died, was a teacher. She was attacked in her classroom, and then the druid, who, at this point I'm just going to say Connor, Connor dissected her, I guess is the best way to put it. And how the coroner was talking about it, it was that it was very likely that how it happened was with enough, with the knowledge from them, because it was even showing dissecting earlier in that episode, I believe, that if they had enough knowledge on how, body works, it's very likely that they let her live long enough. For those of you who don't know, you can live quite a while without your guts. Like these guts, if you take out a vital organ, then you're not going to live very long. So they were talking about how if they had enough knowledge, they could stretch it out as long and as painful as possible, which I believe Connor did do. The next death after that, I believe, was a girl named Noelle who was dating Kit, who was also killed by Wyatt, the first druid, and was hung upside down from a tree, and her her head was put into a bag, and the blood was seeping out the bottom of it. The death after that would be Joe and Violet, who were killed in their house, or in their apartment room. Joe died by getting his penis repeatedly stabbed. Violet, who was obsessed with the internet, ended up saying thank you to her fans. The druid wrote up a speech for her to say and recorded it. Had her say thank you to all of her fans and a bunch of other stuff. Talking about how she's finally famous now, and then Connor, I should say, took a knife and plunged it straight through the top of her head. And I will say I don't know if it was a CGI, like what they did with the face or whatever, but like the complete slack of like just the eyes going different ways and then just swooping down. It was very well done. I enjoyed it. It was a small thing. Next up was the detective. Was it like Sig? I don't know. He was I believe, an Indian detective, or he may have been Middle Eastern. He was killed by Connor again. This time with a blender. It was sawn down, and they sawed off his face. And the death after that was the female detective who had her head crushed in by Connor. This one, we do know it was Connor, as his mask came off, as he killed her with his axe, and her face was completely mushed up. Again, very grotesque. This isn't something that, if you are, have a weak stomach or have young children, and you should be watching. It's very grotesque. But again, I personally enjoy stuff like that. It shows to me that they have balls to do stuff. After the lady detective, the next death up was Connor, who was chopping up the body, was Amber, the partner, or I guess the stepmom of Connor and Jen. She was stabbed by Jen after she tried having Sadia escape, because Jen had captured Sadia. After Sadia figured out what they were doing. Next one up was Connor, who, as he was chopping up the body, Dan, who was a homophobic and white supremacist, and Angel, who is the gay man and also Hispanic, they attacked him in a society where Angel also lost his life. Angel had attacked Connor from behind. Dan shoved Connor and Angel into the boiler when he went to tackle Connor. Angel's back up burnt pretty bad. Connor was able to fight Angel off of him. Then Dan attacked him, hit him in the head with a shovel. Connor, who I believe, picked up his axe or whatever, sliced Dan's arm pretty badly, and it looked pretty bad for Dan. I honestly thought they were going to kill him off, because before that they had a touching moment, him and Angel, where he was telling Angel not to give up and that they were both getting out of here, and that, they were going to get beers together, and that it was showing that he was finally, like, coming over the racism and the homophobia and the hatred for that. So he got his arm cut pretty badly, and then Angel tackled Connor into the furnace and held him in there, and you just heard screaming and screaming, and then it was just Angel screaming, out of more of, like, not pain, but, like, anger and whatnot. And I honestly thought Angel was fine. I was like, oh, hell yeah, both of them getting out of here. No. Angel's arms, which he used to hold Connor in there, were burnt up until, I believe, like, the forearm, maybe the bicep area. So he later died from what I believe was shock and from the burns. And Dan, which I personally enjoyed the scene, Dan was telling him as he died, he was like, you did it, buddy, you did it. And he closed his eyes out of, respect. Dan did not leave the room. He was, like, too weak, I guess. And the final death was Jen, who died from Sadia. Well, I guess technically she killed herself. It was indirectly caused by Sadia. Jen was first stabbed in the leg with an axe by Sadia, chased after them somehow, and got a machete again somehow, because I don't recall her having it, because if she did, she would have used it in the fight instead of a tiny knife, which she used to stab Sadia. The death of Jen came when she was chasing after them. Sadia was pretty weak. Sadia was stabbed and was telling Dan to leave her. Dan, now overcoming his hatred for people of different races, was telling her that he wasn't going to leave her, and that, she did stuff for him, or she saved his life by going down there to find Dan when she heard him screaming, and that he shouldn't, leave her. So he stood her back up, and then Jen came in to the hallway and was chasing after them with a long ass sword, like this. It was huge. With that, she was chasing after them. Sadia grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and used it, like, to bat away the sword, which, as it was batting away, it got stuck in Jen's throat, and she slowly bled to death as her and Sadia talked, which it was then revealed that Sadia was actually the one who started all the hate against Jen's mother. So it was, it was wrapping it back around to that even though they were best friends and whatnot, and stuff, that it all came back on Sadia. It was Sadia's fault, or I shouldn't say Sadia's fault that people were dead, but if Sadia hadn't started the comment chain, the people there may never have said anything. They may have talked about Jen's mother behind, or not, Jen's mother behind her back, but they wouldn't have been so open about it. So after Jen's death, Dan and Sadia were the only ones who survived and left the building. Stuff I really did like was the character development of Dan, who went from being a drunk, hateful person to actually being a pretty stand-up guy. Sadia, again, good character development. The character development was rushed in near the end. It was mostly just her learning to stand up for herself and to protect herself, because she went from being attacked and just or I shouldn't say lazy, but not doing anything about it, uh, to now, she fought someone off. She went down to protect someone. She's doing this stuff. Um, yeah. In all, I'd probably give the the season, God, probably a solid 8.5. Um, the the reason why it's not a 9 or anything higher is, in the beginning it does seem pretty generic. It seems like it's going to be a political correctness show, which I was honestly, near the beginning, I was honestly thinking about tuning out of it. I'm used to watching all that stuff. It's so bad. It's just everywhere nowadays is the political correctness. But I'm actually happy I stuck through with it and finished it, because it turned out to be a lot better than I was expecting. And the other issues are some continuity errors with the phone. Again, there may have been a scene where it was talking about her going back to grab the phone. I don't recall that. And this is more of a personal thing. I am upset that Angel died. I would have liked to see how his character would have developed with Dan and Sadia, if all three of them had escaped. Yeah. So, this is a really bad review. I'm super tired. I'm drained. So, I'm sorry you guys just spent half an hour about watching this. Oh, God. Oh. But like, comment, subscribe. Tell me if you want more, and I'll put down in the comments what shows you want me to review. I'll do my best to get around to them. And yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Deuces.